Alright, what's going on, guys? It's me again. And it's been a few days since I've recorded anything. And obviously I'm in my car, driving. And I've been playing with different ideas as far as where and when to get some recording. Not actually sure what happened there, but the GoPro is cutting out. So we'll just roll with it. We're gonna make it work. Work has been busy, working on the place, the new house. You may know that we bought our first rental property, and we are going to be owner-occupying this property for a little while to begin with. And so we're making some necessary repairs to live in the place and be comfortable. And that's occupying a lot of my time after work. So that kind of brings you up to speed. Work, though, has been fantastic in the sense that I've been able to compile a lot of ideas for videos. So this video I've wanted to make for a little while now because we do so much thinking in this way. I think it's important to talk about it briefly and at least put some words to it, I guess, is what I'm thinking. That phrase doesn't really do it justice. Put some brain power into considering what it means. And the idea really is the concept of right and wrong. Now, for those who are out and about doing anything, consider with me this example. You have a conversation with someone who you are not personally related to. They are not a family member or a close friend. They are either a work colleague or someone in your professional network whom you may rely on for some resource. Maybe it's a skill, maybe it's their expertise in something. So for this example, this person is working with you and you confront a situation, a real life situation, where one of you feels strongly that you have a right way of doing something, that there is a right way of doing something. And in that moment, there happens to be other possible ways of doing or accomplishing the same task. So you may confront quickly, or have to accept, that is, that even when something is considered right, there are other possible ways to accomplish the same goal, to accomplish the same outcome. And for me, this happens almost every day. Working in construction, there is a level of, there's a spectrum of experience and age and ability. And because of that, there also tends to be a spectrum of right and wrong. And so in some ways, the right and wrong is dictated by seniority. I'm sure you can all imagine a scenario where somebody with more experience, more perceived authority in the matter, and more time, more skin in the game than you, who simply decides that their way is the right way. We all run into this more often than we admit. And this is a serious way of thinking and behaving that we all fall into to some extent throughout our lives, and you can divide it into whatever categories you want. Maybe you think, for the example's sake, you're thinking professional, but in other ways, in many ways, it happens in personal relationships, very close relationships, and I'm making a video about it because I really think that it has flaws. So this is the example. We are out in the real world and we confront people who have an idea about what is right and wrong. And I want you to at least consider that the magnitude of this way of thinking is it's huge, it's monstrous. It is unbelievably large. You know, it spans the world, and it does that because it is so interlinked with people's one, ego, but two, self-serving path. Self-serving path. And I say that because life in many ways is a self-serving path. And in the modern world, we tend to quickly fall into the way of living where we gauge our success by some factors like finance and health and happiness, and material things as well, but they are not necessarily right or wrong. So we've kind of set the tone with an example, and now I'd like to talk about why the right and wrong relationship or idea. I'm kind of blanking on the term for what it really is, as in like a school of thought paradigm, I guess. The right and wrong paradigm isn't what it's cut out to be. It isn't the way that we have to live. So, reason, evidence number one, is that being right can be a very costly thing. For example, being right may cost you it may cost you your well-being, in the sense that you may need to make sacrifices to be right, and these sacrifices may come from any part of your life. It's easy to look at these things at their extremes. So if you are unwilling to admit, or at least consider, multiple points of view and weigh things by their effectiveness, and your sole interpretation of the world is to be right or wrong, then you may encounter things, places, people, and beings that challenge your understanding of what you've deemed right. And the problem arises when you deem something to be right, and then someone challenges your point of view. And that someone can be someone who is very close to you, very interwoven in your life. So quickly, you must choose whether or not it is more important to be right, or more important to keep your social position aligned with this person. So there's costly. The second way that right and wrong may not serve you is that it closes the funnel of learning, so to speak. The funnel of learning is this all right, so where were we? Welcome back, guys. There was some interruption in the last video, aka the camera died. So here we are again. It's later in the week, and I just got back from working on the house. I've been doing a lot of the work myself. I can definitely talk about that in future videos, but I wanted to get back to the idea of right and wrong, discussing right and wrong, the effectiveness of using right and wrong to solve problems. And if I remember, we were talking about a couple of the reasons that right and wrong, the right and wrong way of thinking was not very effective. And I was going over the second reason, which was that it closes you to the funnel of information that is always available to you, to anybody for that matter, who is interested in seeking effective solutions. It closes you to the funnel of information because becoming concerned with rightness or wrongness effectively involves your ego in solving the problem. And it's fair to say that if you solve a problem, it does feel good. I can speak to that for sure. But involving your ego in the seeking process or the learning process, the point at which you simply are testing, is not very effective. It, measurably speaking, doesn't result in better or faster solutions. in the construction field, because that's what's relevant to me at the moment, at least in work, I've mentioned that, and in this video I mentioned that the mix of generations in the field, in the career field, actually doing the things, teaching the things, means a lot of the older generation is concerned with being right, doing things right, and not necessarily on the edge of a potentially more effective solution. They're not necessarily open to a more effective solution, because the being right is tied to their state of like concern with themselves. Feeling right feels good. So the funnel of information is important if you want to solve problems, because without it, you are severely limited in how far you will go to solve a problem, or to come up with a solution, a creative solution. And not to say that answers are the only thing to be concerned with. In fact, the learning process is the thing that we should all be concerned with. But especially in construction, it's valid to say that problems have to be solved. Progress must be made. Without it, we would be likely stalled for a long time, and that would get into, I would probably cause some sort of chain reaction in another way. Okay, so the funnel of information is the second reason that right and wrong conceptual thinking isn't the most effective way to solve problems. And I guess I'd like to switch gears and maybe offer up some of my own experienced learning on how to be more effective when problem solving. And really just one thing comes to mind, and it is a good segue from the previous point, and that is that you should try to solve problems, or that is seek solutions, with as little emotional involvement in the seeking process as possible. And I think that actually we often get involved in problem solving for reasons that are emotional, which is a good thing, because we're emotionally driven beings. But when you shift your thinking process away from effectiveness, you lose out on a huge variety of possible outcomes, of possible results. And that loss is driven by your attachment to our attachment to some sort of emotional factor, or I guess maybe even trauma, emotional attachment, really. And so, for example, it might be where you find your information, whom you speak with, your level of comfort in asking for help, asking for information, your level of comfort with receiving teaching, receiving the experience that others have. It's going to be hard to filter people's teaching from your own approval of that teaching. You may not agree, but that doesn't mean that you don't need to listen or you shouldn't listen. You're gathering perspective, gathering data. So I guess I'm gonna wrap up the video there, guys, because I don't want to drag it out too much, and once I edit it down it should be a little quicker. But I would challenge everybody who watches this video to ask yourself what you are currently using as a problem-solving or solution-seeking method, and then integrate something new. Find a new filter to measure success with. Instead of focusing on being only right and avoiding being wrong, or the pain of being wrong, consider that there may be even better solutions out there that would be uncomfortable, but that the measure of effectiveness is at a higher premium and is more desirable as an employee or business owner, or actually in any context. Because the other thing that comes to mind is, of course, solution seeking in relationships. And that's an entire rabbit hole in itself. You may or may not know that being right or wrong in a relationship is not an effective way to manage your communication or your connection. And I think it's safe to say most people know that at a fundamental level, but their behavior may kind of say differently. All right, so overall, I hope you have enjoyed the video, and I'm sorry that it's dark, but we got to get those videos recorded, get these ideas out there. I have enjoyed being able to talk while I'm driving, because otherwise it's just listening to music, maybe listening to a podcast, kind of relaxing a little bit, focusing on just being safe and being aware. One thing that I have noticed is that if I'm driving and I'm recording, I'm not looking at the camera, which is nice because it captures more candidly, I think, my thought process, as well as it kind of forces me to take it down a notch with the driving and actually not rush, because I'm engaged that that is, in sharing an idea. I almost don't want to rush. I would be less likely to rush. So, I love you guys, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you for supporting the channel. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, hit the comment section. And as always, subscribe for more videos. I'll see you in the next one.